We are back, and I am all in.
And I'm like, come on through, Cookie. I want to put my soapbox. That's basically it. Let's talk about drag and all its forms. What, Cookie?
Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. This is my review for American Horror Story. This is season 7. This is episode 1. I am all in. Now, you guys know I love American Horror Story. I really do. But I had to let y'all go last season. I made it through 1.5 episodes of Roanoke, and I had to go. That just did not work for me. I didn't care for it. The storyline irritated me. All this shit in the woods and all that. I didn't have it to do. So I had to leave. And I didn't watch anymore. After that, I was just done with it. I was gone before Angela Bassett even got into the whole thing. The hell with that. That Roanoke, y'all can have that. But anyway, so here we go with American Horror Story Cult. And I was saying, oh boy, as soon as I heard that it was going to be Cult, I said, oh, this is going to be interesting. There's going to be I'm expecting a lot of blood and guts and gore and strange goings-ons. So, yeah. But I know Ryan Murphy's going to do something to twist that up. So he will. He's going to do something to twist it up I'm making something different than what it is I'm expecting, I'm sure, because that's what I expect of him. But anyway, let's get to it. So, November the 8th, 2016. This is election night, the night of the election. And this is where we go in. And I was interested at first because I said, oh, so you're getting ready to really play with reality and real time. I said, oh, this is going to be something. And I'm really interested to see what the fallout's going to be. After tonight, I'm going to have to watch and see what's going on in the internet and around about people's feelings toward the show. But whatever. Okay, so we're going with 2 different households right in the beginning. We actually see the household of Kai Anderson, and we also see the household of Allie and Ivy. Okay, Allie and Ivy are a couple, a married couple. They're lesbians. They have a little boy named Oz. And basically, they're at their house watching the election go down. They have their neighbors, I think it's the Changs, from across the street. They're actually over there. And they're watching everything unfold. Allie, right away, which is played by Sarah Paulson, you're like, she's extra. She's extra. She's really extra. And definitely the more feminine of the 2 women. And you just see that she's very, very affected by everything that's going on. And when they finally say that number 45 is actually going to be Monsieur Trump, she just has a whole breakdown. Basically, she's just breaking down, and you just start to see the discord. Like you just in their small home, you see the discord and the divide. The Changs actually ended up having an issue, where Mr. Chang actually yells at Mrs. Chang about the fact that she didn't vote. And Allie is, like I said, in a breakdown. Ivy's trying to comfort her. The little boy, Oz, actually comes in, and his whole thing, well, of course, being the child of a lesbian couple, a little more adult than most children his age. Because I think he's got to be about 8 years old, and he's like, oh, I don't want you two not to be able to be married anymore. I'm like, wow, that's heavy for a little person. But you just start to see the discord, and that's just in that one little small home. You all know that this is the way the whole country is like splitting and dividing and all of this, and then all of that. But you get to see a lot of this. So all of that goes on. Let's go over to Kai's house. Kai is strange. Kai has blue hair. He has this whole little blue hair thing going on. He's watching TV, and he's pretty much by himself in this room. It's kind of dark, and he's like so overjoyed when they make the announcement. He literally then grabbed the damn flat screen and popping the flat screen. So I'm like, okay, gonna watch you, honey. Pumping flat screens, we're gonna watch you, sweetie. So he goes through all that. Then you actually see this girl, Winter. Winter's an interesting looking character as well. She's on the phone with someone, and she's talking, and I said, oh, honey, you better watching as well. Because she's talking to the person on the phone, and she's like, well, where am I going to get my abortions now? How often do you do this, honey? Like, how often do you get abortions? I'm like, wow. So she's definitely using abortions as a plan B. And the person on the phone is telling her that don't start self-inflicted pain and all that. I'm like, okay, she's a little off. All right, so she has some mental illness and some different little things going on. She looks like a college student now. She is what I kind of got for her. It kind of looked like she was in a dorm. So a little bit after that, you start to see Kai in the kitchen, and he's taking a bag of Cheetos, and he's grinding them up in the in a blender. And I'm saying, what is he doing? And so, of course, they've taken this milky form. He goes into the bathroom, and he starts putting it on his face. And I'm saying, what the hell is he doing? And then you see, like, somebody going, like, you see the way the camera's done. It looks like somebody's actually walking up on Winter. She's sitting there on the bed. And he comes, and it was actually Kai. I'm thinking they are a couple, okay? He goes in there, and he has his face is all orange, and I'm saying, oh, okay, so you're reading 45, okay. So that was the whole thing. He has his hair slicked back, and now his face is all orange, like Monsieur Trump. And you see, there's just a divide right there of their own home. She was rooting for Hillary. He was rooting for Trump. But they ain't falling out about it. She's saying, so are you coming to wipe it in? And he's saying, just admit that you were wrong, this, that, thing, and the other. So they're cool with it. But, of course, they were on opposing sides, but they're all right with it. It is what it is. Next thing we actually see, Kai is at this, like, town hall meeting, and there's, like, there's this whole thing, and they're talking about the Jewish synagogues and some other different little things, and they're voting on something, and he's the only one that's actually of the opinion that he is, and he goes and stands in front of everybody, and Mr. Chang is actually, I guess he's a judge or something. He's something political, but he's sitting up there, and he's the main person, and Kai is saying what he has to say, and he's going through this whole speech about fear and how people like being afraid, and that this is what we should do as a people. Let them be afraid, and the more afraid they are, then they will bend to the will of the others of us, and we'll be able to control things the way that things should be controlled. And I'm looking, and I'm saying, really, Kai? Okay. And the other people that are on the panel are like looking, and they're like, whack job, honey. And I'm like, okay. So, of course, they outvote him, and Mr. Chang basically tells him how ridiculous he is in his way of thinking, and tells him, okay, next, you can go now. And as he's walking out of the courthouse, he was saying something under his breath, and Mr. Chang says, excuse me, what did you say? And he made the statement, there's nothing in this world more dangerous than a humiliated man. And they're like, Chang, get all that out of here. And he goes on out of the thing. So we then go back over to Allie and Abby. We get to see really the extremity of Allie's. Allie has a phobia of every damn thing, okay? Big phobia of clowns. There was this whole little situation, child, I done told y'all, I can't with that clown. You know, I'm not a person that's afraid of clowns. Like, I don't have a problem with clowns. But there's only one clown that I just can't do, and that is Twisty. Twisty and me just don't. If you watched any of my reviews from Freak Show, which was actually my favorite season, me and Twisty just don't get it. Me and Twisty can't. I can't with him. Okay, I just cannot with him. But we see a whole scene, and Twisty's back at his old stuff. There's a little guy and a little girl out there out in the woods. They getting down. Twisty comes and does what Twisty does, baby. He's, Johnny offed him is what he did. He offed him and off the girl and yanked her tongue out, kind of just pulled her tongue out at him and threw it on the ground. Took her in that van and all that. I said, oh, here we go with him again. And what you actually see is it's a flash. It's Oz, which is Allie and Abby's little boy, is actually reading the Twisty the Clown comic book. Because remember, the stuff with Twisty, that was back in the 50s, because he actually existed. That was back in the 50s. I think it was the 50s. The 40s or the 50s. But it's a comic book now in real time. And Oz is actually reading that. Well, baby, when Allie saw that that's what Oz was reading, and she looked at it, she went into this whole panic attack. She went into a panic attack and an anxiety situation, and that's where you see she has a huge phobia of clowns, okay? So she goes into all that, and we just start to see the role that plays in their household. Next, we actually see her with her therapist, and she has another phobia. She starts talking about this piece of coral that he has sitting in his office. Something about she has a real bad thing with things with holes in it. And she says she just finds it repulsive. She got a lot going on. And I'm just looking, I'm like, okay. So she goes through all of that. The doctor basically prescribes her some antidepressants and some anxiety medicine. And she's like, I don't want to take any medicine. He's like, But see, the thing is, ever since the election, her phobias have heightened to such a level, she needs to take her medicine. She needs to take her medicine. So that was that. So then we actually, there's this scene after that where she goes to the grocery store. This is a few days after the election. Grocery store is completely empty. Completely empty. Nobody's in there but the cashier. And she says to the cashier, and this is where we get to actually see, again, the divide out in the world, where you don't know, because, generally we don't know who voted for who. You just kind of keep it to yourself. And with this last election, people have been really careful about not sharing that information. They just kind of keep it to themselves, who they voted on, which has been good because it's been very controversial. She says, where's everybody at? And he says, oh, I guess they're all home watching the president make his speech. And she says, yeah, can you believe the things that he's saying? And she's thinking, the guy was on the same, because this is somebody she talks to all the time, thinking they're on the same page. And he says, yeah, absolutely. And then he's like, we finally got a real leader in there. And he pulls out this hat out of his pocket and puts it on his head. And it's a Make America Great Again hat. So here, you're thinking that y'all are thinking the same way. And I'm sure that has to do with the whole fact that, everybody knows that she's a lesbian, this, that, thing, and the other, and she just, took for granted, I guess, that they were on the same page. And no, he's on the complete opposite page. And she's like kind of looking at him like, mess. And she goes on and she starts shopping. So she's in the midst of this shopping, and she runs into two clowns, and one is hitting it from the back in the produce section, and it just stops her and freezes her up, and it's like a whole little situation going on, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So she got that going on. Then you just start seeing more clowns. So next thing you know, she's in this supermarket basically running for her life. There's clowns on scooters, hoverboards. One had a butcher knife. They're like just after her, and you're thinking the whole time, well, naturally, this is a figment of her imagination. It's just getting the best of her. She's throwing bottles of liquor and just trying to get out. So she finally gets out of the store. She had left her purse and everything. She runs out of the store. She goes and gets in the car. She contacts, through the car, she contacts Ivy, and Ivy's like, what the hell? What is going on? What are you saying? And she's like, they're trying to kill me. She's like, well, let me hang up. Let me call the police. She's like, no, don't hang up, this, that, and the other. Never paying attention to the fact that there is a clown sitting in the backseat of her car. And she ends up stepping on the gas and just banging into a light pole that was in front of her. So Ivy, next thing you see her at home. You see Ivy's telling the detective, it's fine. I got it from here. They start to talk, the two of them afterwards, and she says, did they see anything on the surveillance footage or anything? And she's like, nobody's seen any clowns. Nobody's seen anything. The cashier said all he saw was you running through the store, screaming and yelling and throwing bottles of liquor. Nobody's seen anything. And she's like, I'm not crazy, this, that, and the other. And, again, Oz comes out. He's like, Mommy, she's like, no. She tries to straighten up, when she sees Oz and everything. So that's that. You can start to see a little after that how this is starting to wear on Ivy, okay? So Ivy and Allie actually own a restaurant. It's a restaurant, and I think it's kind of like a butcher shop too. I think they actually sell like deli meat and different things as well. And we get right away that Allie hasn't actually been to work. She's been being home. She's been having situations and all of that. And Ivy's telling her, this is not working. Like, I'm not supposed to be trying to run this all on my own. You are the face. You're supposed to be up front. I'm in the back with the knives and the meat and all of that. And I'm telling, but you're supposed to be up front, and you're not up front. And it's just getting to be a lot. And it's really straining on the marriage and all that. So she apologized to her. She said, you don't think I'm crazy, do you? She's like, no, I don't think you're crazy. You just got some stuff going on. This, that, and other. She's trying to be patient with her. So she's like, I'm going to come back to work. So then they were discussing it. She says, yeah. Well, the thing is, we've got to get a new nanny for Oz now with you coming back to work. She's like, okay, no problem. So they're standing there on the corner. And the next thing you know, you just see it's actually Kai. He ends up like throwing a latte, like just throwing it on the two of them. Like, wow. So he like throws the latte on them, and they're like, what the hell? And he's like, I tripped. Like, calm down. I tripped. I'm sorry. And she's like, there was plenty of room for you to actually go around, whatever. And then he ends up looking at them and saying, enjoy your latte, bitches. So it was on purpose. And then, I'm looking at it. I'm starting to connect the dots. I'm like, okay, Kai. All right. No problem. Like, he targeted them. I said he's been somewhere watching them, and he knew that they were lesbians, And he did that. That was kind of like a little hate crime type of situation. I mean, he goes on off, and he was real smug and real happy with what he had done. So the next thing you see is them interviewing for the nanny. And the person they're interviewing is Winter. So right away, I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Here we go. They're being targeted. Okay. So they're being targeted. They end up hiring Winter. Winter then is actually sitting down and she's having this conversation with Kai. And you see, I already said that she has some little issues. You can see in the conversation that they're having that she is conflicted, okay? Just her as her own person. She's conflicted, okay? She's sitting there talking to Kai. And, you know, they're doing this whole pinky swear type of thing. And they're talking. And he asks her, what's the thing that she's most afraid of in the world? And she told him, actually, it's him. And she confessed to him something about, it's her most embarrassing moment. When she was in, I think, 5th grade, a friend of hers caught her writing a love letter to Paula Abdul and actually showed it to other people in the school. So she has some lesbian tendencies that she's conflicted about. Because he said, are you a dyke? And she's like, no, you know. And then he asked her the most painful experience that she could remember that she didn't inflict on herself. She says when she allowed some guy to do anal on her. And then he said, well, what's the most pleasurable experience that you've had? And she says, when this guy did anal on her. She's completely conflicted. She is perfect bait for a person that is doing or creating a cult. She's perfect because she's so conflicted within her person that, yeah, you can bend her to whatever your will is. I said, again, I'll be watching her. So next we actually see this scene with Kai. Kai goes down. You see like some Mexican Americans, and they are actually being dropped off. You know how they do like day work, and there were a few guys there, and the other guys were being dropped off from off the pickup truck, and there's like maybe 6 or 7 of them there. And Kai is standing over there, and he starts singing La Cucaracha, La Cucaracha, just to get it started. And they're kind of looking at him like, what the hell? Like, don't start. And he pulls out a condom, and he stands there and he pees into the condom. And then he takes the condom and he yells out, you wetbacks aren't wanted here, and you can finally go on back where you came from. And he throws the condom full of piss down there at them. Well, needless to say, they beat Guy's ass. And you see that there's somebody actually videotaping the whole thing. So I said, hold on to that. I'm sure something's going to happen with that. But he antagonized them, and of course, it'll get you know what's going to happen. So let's just continue watching that. So let's go over to the house with Winter babysitting Oz. Winter seen Oz reading. Well, he was drawing a picture of Twisty the Clown with a knife and a dead body. He were going to kill somebody. He's like all fascinated with it. She gets talking to him. Then she's questioning him about his moms and which one of them carried you, and this, that, and the other. And I'm looking, I said, So now she made me not like her at all. And I'm listening to her. Then she introduces us to the dark web, and she showed him actual people, violence, and people being killed, and actual dead bodies, and all this confusion and discord. And he's saying, I don't want to watch no more of this. And she's like, you know what? It's because at first it kind of scares you, but then you get used to it, and then it's good. And I think I'll get some cookies. And she opens back up. And then you actually hear some, like, they live in a very quiet neighborhood. You hear some noise outside. So he actually gets up and he goes and looks out the window. You see an ice cream truck pull up. and you see all the clowns. It's the same clowns that were in the grocery store. All these clowns are getting out across the street, and they're looking at him, looking at them out of the window. And notice, a couple of clowns, they notice that he sees them, and then they proceed to go on in the house across the street, which is the Chang's house. And they literally go in there, and the next thing we see, let's go back over to Allie and Ivy at the restaurant. So they're at the restaurant, they've been, working and doing what they're doing and everything. And Ivy has made some dinner for Allie and sent it out. And when she opens it up, it's like some type of something, and it has holes, and this blood started running out of it, and it was just a hot ass mess. As she goes into this anxiety attack, then she looks over, and there's a clown over there jacking off. And she's snapping out in her own restaurant. She's running, and she's calling for Abby. This, that, the other. Then Abby comes, and Abby's like, what is the problem? Then they're looking all around, and she's like, there is nobody here but us. There's nobody here but us. Like, come on. Like, she's like, this is getting to be too much. You and this crazy is starting to drive me nuts. It's too much. So then she says, well, what about the food? What about the food? And she pulls up the thing, and she's like, it's something completely different. And she's like, this is too much. This is too much. So when they go home, they pull up, and there's yellow tape, and you see all of these cop cars. And they jump out. They're like, first things like, Oz, oh my God, Oz. So they're running. They're looking for Oz. They're looking for Oz. And then they hear Oz like, Mommy. And they both run up. He runs up to them. And they're trying to figure out what goes on. They're like, what happened over there? And they're like, ma'am, you can't come over there. Like, those are our friends. What happened over there? Well, here it is. The Changs have been murdered. Okay? The Changs have been murdered. Then we start to hear Oz starts to tell the story of what happened. And he tells the story and basically how he looked out the window. He saw the clowns. He runs down the hallway and he gets Winter. Winter looks out the window. She sees the clown car. Her and him put the coats on. They go outside. They're easing around, looking. And the clown car, and they're like, okay. Then they go up to the Chang's house, and they're hearing the screaming and the yelling. And she basically is making sure that he takes it all in. They go to a window. She's like, I can't reach, but I'm going to lift you up, and you watch and tell me what you see. So she lifts him up, and he basically watched the whole murder of Mr. and Mrs. Chang. And they go back. This is the story he tells. Then they send Oz away, and Winter tells them, I don't know. She's like, none of that happened. That is not how anything happened. She said, literally, I've seen no clowns, no ice cream truck, nothing like that. She said, literally, he looked out the window. He's seen police cars. We came out, and the police cars were here. She said, but now I don't know if this is some type of trauma going on. She said, because I actually caught him reading this book as she pulls out the Twisty the Clown book. And of course, Allie's like, oh, the whole thing. So at this point, we know Winter is out of order. We know that Kai is targeting different people. And the Changs were definitely on his radar. The Changs. And so is Ivy and Allie, okay? So I said, Allie wasn't feeling Winter's story at all. Ivy was, cool with everything that was said. And then the detectives basically said that the murder of the Changs was a murder-suicide. But we know better. So again, Allie's not buying it. Ivy is buying it. Winter's out of order. And everything is just a mess. This is kind of where we end this first episode. This is good. This is back to the American Horror Story type of stuff that I live for. And I'm going to tell you all this now. I do not trust Ivy. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why. I can't even explain to you right now. Y'all know I do this every time, every season. I can't explain to you why, but I don't trust Ivy. Something about Ivy just does not sit right with me. And I don't know about that damn. And she asked her, "Did you take your medicine?" And she's like, "No." She's like, "You need to do that." Something about that psychologist. I don't. Something don't sit right with him either. So I don't know. But I definitely don't trust Ivy. Something about Ivy just don't sit right with me. But anyway, we'll talk about this 30 minutes. I got to go. Talked long enough. Um, we're all in American Horror Story season 7. So I don't trust that damn Ivy. All right, y'all. I'll talk to you guys next week. Later.